The power of a fan economy. Now this is thoughtful. Hello, I'm Kitty Boo in Shanghai. Today we're bringing you the second episode of Thoughtful, sponsored by Weibo, China's leading microblogging platform, to help marketers understand this market's social media environment and use it more effectively to build online relationships with local consumers. If you'd like to hear more from the speakers in this sponsored series, Weibo is hosting a discussion site where viewers can interact with our guests and other industry members. You can access this site through the QR code on the screen or through Thoughtful's Weibo account at the link below. This episode in our 6-part series is about the power of a fan economy when brands intentionally develop, investing, and nurture a fan community that drives purchases through lifestyle affinity. By becoming friends with consumers, marketers can convince them to willingly participate in brand activities. Find out what a fan economy can do for your brand from our panelists Michael Lin, J.K. Shen, and Sean Biglione, who will look at the cost of recruiting and engaging online fans, how to get fans who will fight for your brand and support it. And Vixie Yang will share a thought or two about how to become a fan-focused organization. But first with us today in the studio is Charlie Dong, Senior iMarketing Manager at Coca-Cola China. Charlie, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Well, today's show is about the power of a fan economy. Unlike many brands in China, Coca-Cola doesn't face pressure to expand its brand awareness. Your challenge lies in, through social media, cultivate fans' love for Coca-Cola as a brand. To start out, let's talk a little bit about the size and scope of your fans on Weibo. How many fans do you have there now, and how long did it take you to build such a fan base?
Actually, we start our Coca-Cola Weibo operation quite early. So back to 3 years ago, we started our official account on Weibo, and currently we have 6 brands, plus Coca-Cola China corporate account operation on Weibo, and in total we got around 1 million fans.
That's quite impressive. How long did it take you to build it up? Is it 3 years?
About 3.5 years so far.
Okay. Well, what does it cost to recruit social media fans and engage them online in China on such a scale versus cost on traditional media advertising for similar reach?
From my understanding, the cost is not only about the financial cost, but the cost of the effort and the input from the brands to create relevant social content and creative to suitable for the fans on Weibo. And when we're talking Weibo, it's not only about the fans, because your fans base only as the followers follow your account. But the power of Weibo is that the impression power. You can reach someone, your followers' friends. That's the power of Weibo. And once you put a published message, a popular message out there, it could be reached to maybe 10,000. We did a campaign this year, a lyric bottle, and last year we did nickname bottle, which are quite popular campaigns, and the campaign topic have become the hot topic on Weibo. One is the top 3, one is top 4. So it's been last there for 2 or 3 days. In total, it reached to about 1.4 billion people around that campaign period. So we can say the reach there is more powerful than the followers we have.
Just now when we talk about the word costs, you mentioned there are 2 dimensions, yeah? One is the number, the money. The other is the efforts. Are you saying the efforts you need to spend on social media platforms is more than traditional advertising?
Yeah, definitely. On traditional advertising, you can say you put a creative out there and it's there. And you can get feedbacks after the campaign. But on social media, you have to change it more frequently and make your content relevant to the hot topic on the Weibo platform, on what consumers are talking about on the social media. So if there's a hot news coming this morning, you have to join the conversation if you think it's relevant to your brands. So the effort Coca-Cola put into Weibo is more costly to us because we have brand team, we have MC, we have a marketing team, and our creative team. So we work together as a team to build up our content on the Weibo platform.
Tell us a little bit about some of the good examples, successful campaigns that you have done or Coca-Cola has done in the past on the Weibo platform.
Okay, on Weibo platform, we have done Christmas campaigns that, because everyone knows on social media, content is the king. And one of the good example of Coca-Cola content is that we created the outlook, the red dress, Santa Claus
Santa
image.
Claus, yeah.
Yeah, Santa Claus image back into 1920s. That's a content we created 80 years ago. But here in China, few people knows about the story about this. So we activated the Santa Claus image here back in China. And last year we did a Christmas campaign that consumers could join us to send their wishes to Santa Claus, a Coca-Cola Santa Claus, which is more closely to the feeling of the fans that Coca-Cola brands is no longer a big corporate, but become your friends. And Santa Claus is the image of a Coca-Cola. So this is one example. Another example is the lyric bottle campaign, the Share a Coke summer campaign we did this year. And in this year, a lot of people on social media shared out their own pictures or their own stories on Weibo platform. They take a picture of the bottles we have, more than 50 different bottles, different lyrics. They can use this lyric to show their love to their boyfriends or girlfriends. They can show their love and encourage to their colleagues, to their friends. And we found it's a lot very successful campaign there. And we activated this campaign on Weibo platform first and got billions of impressions. And it's number 3 most talked about topics when the campaign was launched on Weibo.
Yeah, that's a very interesting case. But Charlie, thank you for being on Thoughtful China today.
Thank you so much.
Let's take a quick break, then we'll hear from Victor Yang about how to become a fan-focused organization.
I love the fact that Thoughtful China hits issues that are relevant and current. Gives us a platform to discuss the issues that are relevant to brands, marketers, as well as the agencies that are supporting them.
Every fan is a customer, but not every customer is a fan. For brands to establish a sizable fan economy, it is important to firstly build your brand's own fan-centric ecosystems, especially for startups and new products. So you need to make good use of powerful social media to develop a business model with fan demand as a core. To achieve that, have your own brand point of view, always listen to your fans, and make sure you are marketing and selling your brand in a way that is cohesive with hardcore fans' needs. The key to building your own fan ecosystem is to be flexible, to be creative, and still keep your own brand point of view, gradually turn customer participation into fan support. We have seen some interesting cases in China of companies that have achieve fan economy by managing the subtlety of customer reputation. Secondly, with the rise of programmatic buying, marketers can not only listen to fans in more timely fashion, they are able to transform campaign site visitors, turning product customer into brand fan more effectively. Vivaki's audience on demand and DMP solution utilizing 12 billion RTB daily inventory, social cron technology, dynamically pushing one-on-one marketing creative message to different brand interactive group, programmatically turn negative reputation to centric and then positive. This is a digital approach to managing brand relationship from social listening, media buying, and O2O PR management. So again, customer comes and goes, but fans fight for your brand's survival.
Thanks, Vixie. We're back in the studio today with J.K. Shen, Senior Vice President of Brand Building and Social at Razorfish in China, Sean Biglione, Head of Strategy, Zenith Optimedia, and Michael Lin, General Manager, Research and Consulting Business at CIC. Welcome to our studio today. Well, we're talking about the power of a fan economy in China, especially recruiting and engaging online fans on a level where they will actively promote the brands. The first question is, what are the steps a company could take to establish a fan-centric ecosystem in China?
Yeah, I think we're talking about the fans economy issues, though I think the key point here is that with the booming of social media, and it's so easy to quantify fans amount rather than start back to the basic. So the fans economy actually will back to how we can utilize the fans' power into business.
I think every brand can have fans. And it's actually quite an interesting aspect when you look at different brands. Larger brands tend to have more fans and smaller brands tend to have less fans. Now, when you actually look at how social media will pan out, the number of fans on Facebook, so the ones that are visible, sometimes will be different, and some small brands will be able to do it really, really well, some other brands not so much. At the very heart, before you start with what is going to be my Weibo strategy, what's going to be my WeChat strategy, you have to think of what is my own media strategy, what is it that I want to say, what is it about my product that's going to be talked about. And I think, in terms of how you can set things up for the fans economy, at the very heart, you have to be ready to not just have those fans, but do something with them. I consider this as a means and not an end. And I think the means end is where a lot of the brands are making mistakes at the moment, because I see a lot of our clients coming to us and say, we want to generate this many fans, or we have this big community, but at the end of the day, if you don't do anything with those things, if you're not set up internally to take into account what they're saying, how they're reacting to what you're doing, then it's pretty worthless.
I typically think of fan acquisition in terms of 3 buckets. Number one is understanding the preference and psychology of your fans, what they like, what they dislike, what they desire in terms of differentiation and social status. You really need to understand them before you can motivate them. That's number one. Number two, you need to provide value, genuine values. It can be form of actual benefits. For example, it can be exclusive offers online. It can also be samples of hot-selling products. It can also be unique VIP experiences that you have a chance to win. Or it can be expressed in terms of entertainment. Think of a video content that's entertaining to watch, or a piece of game that's fun to play with. Or even you can think of useful tips you can provide to your fans that's of educational value. So whatever you do, think hard about how you provide value to your fans. That's number two. Number three, be personal and down to earth in terms of communication styles. Try to blend as part of the social communities, because we believe on a social platform, it's more of a place to, not to make a speech, but to join in on the conversations. And brands that are doing well in terms of fan acquisition understand these well. And they are taking advantage, being very flexible, leveraging those levers to drive execution excellence.
I think you give some very good tips on how brands should engage with fans and then keep them motivated and interested. But let's go back to JK for a second. This year at Razorfish, what are some of the main difficulties your client faced trying to engage fans and recruit fans through social media?
Yeah, actually, I think the challenge remains for the whole industry, and it's not only for the agency like Razorfish. So the key challenge is, we're talking about the booming of social media, and every social media has the fans. Actually, the fans definition is come from social. Before social, there was no fans. So actually, we back to the definition of the fans itself. It's kind of the fanatics of the enthusiastic towards certain sports or entertainment. So it's easily to get quantified the fans rather than back to the basic. So I think the key thing start with fans economy is to really understand who is your fans and what you can bring from brand to your consumers. So this is the basic, you set up a strategy for the fans. So this is a very basic thing when you start to build a fans economy.
Is it getting easier or harder to recruit fans on the internet? And what does that mean for social media strategy evolving looking forward?
It's never easy, but it's getting harder because now the social is so cluttered, and now people are getting more and more focused on the certain areas. So we need to be very clear who is the target again.
I think the problem that I have is it's becoming more meaningless, the fans, both for the brands and for the consumers themselves. You know, when the thing started a few years ago, clearly, you know, it meant something when you liked a brand on a social profile. Nowadays, it's become such a commodity and it's just not that meaningful anymore. And I think, you know, the interaction via the social channels is becoming something where it almost becomes questionable as to where this is actually going. You know, is it something that might die over the next few years because consumers feel like, you know what, this is kind of nice, but everyone does it, there's nothing special about it. So it's going to be back to the point of, you know, how can you actually say something that's going to be really valuable to them. But, you know, one of the things I found really difficult for the social acquisition in the fan economy is, what is your sample? You know, when you look at people who are becoming fans of your brand on Sina Weibo or WeChat, there might be a very specific type of consumers of your brand. And you have to, not always that the sample is actually useful or representative of really where your brand is going. We've seen instances around the world of campaigns or issues that happen on social media where the mass population never heard of it. We've also seen things where, you know, you'll see customers trying to direct the product or the brand in a direction that actually doesn't necessarily really resonate with other people the brand is now trying to acquire. So we have to always kind of figure out who those fans are and how much value they have beyond being fans, but who they're really representing as a consumer base at the moment.
Well, these are good questions to ask. But Michael, CIC measures the buzz generated around brands in social media platforms, particularly on Weibo. Can you share with us some good examples of companies who have been particularly good at doing this?
I think I add up some cases. So I think it starts with how to manage a database of the fans, because now it's like cross platforms. So it's better we have a holistic fans database across all the social platforms, and we study from the beginning that who are they, and also we make strategies of what we can offer is. So it will connect with multiple marketing and efforts, for example, like CRM. So basically we'll use leverage or make tiers about the fans and make different strategy and offerings to this kind of CRM approach. Also it's connect with business. So it's easily linked with like e-commerce or mobile commerce within the high tier of the fans, who are the most maybe highly motivated person easily to be connected with the commerce part. So this is the e-commerce and the CRM are the most, let's say, linkage between the fans economy turning to the business.
But I mean, you're talking of very transactional aspects of social here, and I think, you know, you ask about brands and examples. The one that's gone the deepest is Xiaomi, clearly for me, because Xiaomi changes its products based on what its community tells them to. And that
strategy had worked very well for them.
Oh, it's been beautiful because, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, people are getting what they want, and Xiaomi makes sure they get it at the cheapest price possible, which is a very appealing proposition in China. So, you know, I think the ability to have a business set up to be influenced by what the community is saying has become something that's going to be rare, and it's going to be highly valued by the consumers, because most brands pretend to be listening to their fans on social, but the reality is it's very difficult internally to go through the hoops and the politics to actually put these things in practice. Companies like Xiaomi have been engineered around using that tool, and listening to those voices to actually change the way the business is run is a very, very powerful thing.
It is a very good ecosystem. They integrate the feedback from the fans into the products, and then the fans are there to root for these products in the end. What is the cost of recruiting online fans these days, and, you know, getting shares from them and retweets versus traditional media in China?
Yeah, actually, if we're talking about some high quality or real fans, it's getting more and more expensive than expected. And also, I think acquisition is one part. To retain the fans is another effort we need to continue, because normally the fans follow a brand because of a campaign, a promotion even. So how to retain a long relationship with the fans is another effort we need to think about it.
And the key concern I have when we do those strategies about recruiting fans on these platforms such as Weibo, WeChat, they're talked about now as leased platform, not earned platform. And you're not in your environment, you're not in your space, you don't control how the interaction is going to be happening, which means that the way your community exists and is managed is entirely relying on someone else than your brand. It's whatever WeChat decides to do, whatever Sina decides to do, of how you're going to be able to interact with your fans is going to have a huge impact. And I see Facebook, where I did a lot of work on Facebook when I was back in the US or the UK, the changes they've made to their EdgeRank mechanism, which decides what a person sees from people they're friends with or brands they follow, this had huge impact. Like brands went from 15, 20, 30% of their fans seeing content to about 3 to 4%. So, all these costs and these investments for some brands now, I wouldn't say is worthless, but they're rethinking like, was it really worth it? So from a social acquisition perspective, there's the extra cost as to where do you direct this community? Like, do you really want to be on a platform that you don't control and might just change overnight and then you're just left out with not much of value for yourself for the next few years?
Well, from social listening perspective, I evaluate this less of a purely financial considerations. I view this more of a sort of game changer value propositions, if you will. For many brands, the arrival of Weibo or other social platforms open up possibilities that was previously inconceivable before. So now, imagine you can watch a fashion show together with people in London, Paris, or Milan. Or you can follow your favorite celebrities or movie stars 24/7 and actually tweet about it. And if you like, you can discover the latest promotions of the brand or product that you like and make the purchase. So those are just some of the scenarios and reasons why people subscribe to accounts on Weibo across brands, media, and different vertical interest groups. And I think the challenge really is not trying to get their attention for the first time. The challenge is really to sustain fans' passion over time horizon. And it would take sustained and focused effort in terms of fan management engagement.
Well, last question. In short words, what are the key takeaways do you think our viewers can get from this episode trying to engage online fans going forward?
For me, it's if you're not ready to make something with it, don't bother. I don't think the returns will be there. You have to be willing to do something with those fans. If your company is not set up for it, I think the costs are high, the risks are high.
JK?
My suggestion for the marketer is, before asking how much fans I can get, start with who is my fans and what we can bring to our real fans.
I have 3 quick tips to share. Number 1 is executive sponsorship. Management's conviction in social is critical. It helps shape the agenda as well as shift resources digitally and socially. So if your CEO or CMO doesn't have a Weibo account or not active on those platforms, go get them one. That's the first step. The second step is always listen. You'll be amazed how many stories and dramas actually take place on the Weibo platforms. Brands should leverage those occasions to participate and engage. And in the process, you will make your brands much more personal. And last but not least, be innovative. Always trying out new things and take stock learnings as you go along. I know every brand is trying to have so-called best practices, but the way to get closer is to keep at it. So be innovative and have fun doing social.
Well, Michael and Sean and JK, thank you for being in the studio today.
Thank you.
You can visit the Weibo discussion site to interact with the guests on today's show, as well as other industry members. Access this site through the QR code on the screen here, or through Thoughtful's Weibo account at the link below. We'll be back next month with the 3rd episode in this 6-part series sponsored by Weibo with advice about how to build a social brand in China. That wraps it up for today. Be sure to subscribe to us on Youku, Tudo, and YouTube. You can also follow us on Weibo, WeChat, and Twitter, and join our LinkedIn group. See you again.